It's a new day, and that means new stories from Ocean Story. Let's begin. 4 days ago, my close friend Serenity contacted me and told me that she was having some problems in her family. Her boyfriend started drinking a lot of alcohol and started behaving inappropriately. It got to the point where the guy might hit Serenity or start saying swear words at my friend. Now I live with my sister Eva in a small town. We moved out of our parents' house 3 years ago. Although Eva left first because she's 3 years older than I. After graduating from college, I moved in with my sister right away. I found a good job here. At one of the corporate events, I met a girl named Serenity, who is now asking for my help. We have known each other for 2 years now, and she has become a good friend. So it was very difficult for me to refuse Serenity's help. She said that now she needs money or a place to live so she can leave that hell. I told her I could call the police, but Serenity assured me that everything was fine now. I told her that I needed at least 1 day to settle my personal issues. All the events took place late at night when it was already 11 o'clock in the morning. But I decided that I would call my sister, who is now staying with our uncle for a few weeks. She works in a rural business and helps our uncle do his business. Although I called late at night, Eva picked up the phone. I told her that a friend of mine whom she knew was asking for help and that I could give her shelter for a few days. My sister agreed, but said it shouldn't take more than 3 days. After all, she plans to come home in 3 days and doesn't want to see strangers there. A short story about my sister and my friend. Eva does not get along well with my friend Serenity. My sister says that for personal reasons, she doesn't like Eva's personality. So when I tell my sister that I'm going out, Eva tells me not to take too much of Serenity's habits. I could never understand why she says that, but it's clear that my sister doesn't like my friend. I was happy that my sister agreed to help, so in the evening I told Serenity that she could stay with me. 1 hour later, Serenity arrived by taxi to my house. I was expecting her to come, but not so soon. In the end, I helped Serenity bring my things in. I also fed my friend and listened to some more horror stories from Serenity. I felt very sorry for her because Serenity's boyfriend treated her like an object to be beaten or hurt. That night, we stayed in the kitchen until 4 in the morning. It was very hard for me to tell Serenity that I could only give her shelter for 3 days. For the first 2 days, I looked after Serenity and helped her find some new work. After all, her boyfriend might have started looking for his girlfriend. By the way, he called Serenity more than once. Because of this, she had to change her number so that her boyfriend could no longer talk to her. The first 2 days went by quickly as Serenity was in the house with me. The third day was to be the last, and we were finally able to find a new job for Serenity. But she needed to stay with me for a while longer because Serenity didn't have much money, and in fact, I couldn't help with much money either. So I thought that Serenity could stay for 1 more week until she got her first paycheck at her new job, and the issue with Eva could be resolved without any problems. So I told my friend that she could stay with me for 1 more week. That evening, at 8 o'clock, my sister arrived. She was a little tired from work, but she had the energy to fight. While we were sitting with Serenity in the living room, Eva came in. I didn't hear her right away and was a little scared when I saw my sister. Eva asked me why your friend was here, and I told her that we would talk about it tomorrow. But Eva objected and said, I was ready to hear all the explanations now. I explained why Serenity should stay with us for another week, but my sister didn't like my answer. Serenity said she was very ashamed of herself for putting us in this position. My sister said that she was very angry with me because I had not even told her that Serenity would be staying for a while. It was hard to convince Eva to let my friend stay. In the end, Eva gave me permission to do so. The next morning, Eva called me into the room and told me that I acted like an asshole who thinks that only you can decide everything. I said that in such difficult circumstances, we have no right to refuse Serenity. Even though my sister was against Serenity staying with us, I don't really care what she thinks. It's a very bad thing for Eva to do. I think that Eva treats stray cats much better than my friend. Eva said that for my friend, I will now do all the housework for 2 months and pay for my sister's massage. I replied that you want too much. My sister said, Either you agree to this, or I'm going to Serenity's room right now and telling her to leave right now. My sister stumped me, and I had to agree to Eva's terms. And to make matters worse, my sister complained about the situation to our mom, and my mom started lecturing me on the phone that I should consult my sister before making such decisions. My sister thinks I am a donkey who does whatever he wants, although I don't think I did anything wrong in this situation. Autumn, although the author did good deeds, his sister is very right in her words. You could do what you want if it was your house, but you share it with your sister Eva. Therefore, you should have told her that you gave your friend permission to live there. Before you gave Serenity permission, even if you do good deeds, you should do them in the right way so that you don't cause problems for the people around you. It's really cool that you want to help people and friends, but your sister has a right to her own comfort in her home. Eva is right to say that she doesn't like your friend and wants her to leave. You should be grateful that your sister is so honest and doesn't say this behind your back. You're wrong to think that you couldn't say no to Serenity. Your decision was made with your feelings, not your mind. Serenity is just a friend to you, not a girlfriend or a relative. So first of all, you should think about your own sister and her comfort, and then about other girls. Otherwise, you are just a disgusting brother. Adam, I can say a few things in defense of the author and against him. Probably many people will recognize themselves in this. You're walking down the street and you see a little dog lying there, making strange noises, like it hasn't been fed in days. And you stand over it and think, man, what are we going to do with you? And you run to some store to buy food for this dog. But when you pick it up, you see that it has a wound. You don't just abandon the puppy and walk away, do you? Most likely you will take it to your house and take it to the vet so that he can help it. After that, you will decide the fate of this dog, either by taking it to your home or by giving it to a shelter. The fact that it is difficult to pass by a dog crying in pain is important. So what can you say about a person who is familiar and dear to you? Now, to the author's disadvantage, this guy really should have coordinated everything with his sister. The author acted very bravely, thinking that he could settle everything very easily. But it was not so, and he brought a lot of problems on himself. By your actions, you have embarrassed two people at once. Therefore, you should apologize to Eva and Serenity. Now I want to tell a different story. I have been living with my boyfriend Ian for a long time. We met about 10 years ago and started dating 2 years later. So Ian and I have been in a relationship for 8 happy years. All my life, I was raised by my Aunt Haley, who is quite old. Haley also has a husband, Austin, and their children, who are about my age. I have been experiencing some difficulties in my family for a long time. My Uncle Austin and Aunt Haley were cold to all the people I talked to, especially if they were close to me. They were not as interested in me as they were in their children. To be honest, it didn't make me very angry, but it wasn't pleasant. Haley never asked me any deep questions. Only once, when she asked me if I drank alcohol at my high school graduation. It was the most serious act of conversation. In all the years I lived at Haley and Austin, the problem came in my relationship with my family. When I started living with Ian, my aunt and uncle practically never called us. Even sometimes they didn't send greetings on holidays. The last time Ian and I visited my relative's house, I saw that my aunt and uncle were not interested in communicating as much as possible. My uncle was most interested in the apple cake his wife had baked. I think that night Haley asked more questions about the weather than about my life with Ian. No matter how hard I tried to turn our conversation topics into something personal, it didn't work. My uncle would start telling stories about his old car, and my aunt would tell me what a great recipe she learned from her neighbor. Even though Ian and I have been together for a long time, the only thing my uncle and aunt know about him is that my boyfriend is an athlete and knows how to drive. Haley has never even tried to establish contact with my boyfriend's mom. For example, I talk to my boyfriend's mom several times a week. I can say that I know a lot about her and Ian's family. I think this is how family relationships should be. In any case, this story is now 1 month old, and I have already talked to the family about their behavior. 2 days ago, we invited our family to our house to spend family time. This time, I expected Haley and Austin to be more interested, to have a conversation with my boyfriend, since he is my future husband whom I will marry next year. Also, my brother and his girlfriend were able to come to the evening, and my sister was also there. When dinner was ready and we had a great meal, it was time for socializing. Throughout the evening, my brother told me stories about his experiences over the past 3 months. When it was my boyfriend Ian's turn to speak, everyone lost their energy and started to get distracted by their own business. When Ian spoke the first sentence, he said what he was doing. My aunt interrupted him and started saying that the taste of the fish was very strange. Haley started asking everyone if they could taste this strange taste. Of course, my boyfriend's story was ruined, and everyone started thinking about the taste of fish in their mouths. In conclusion, the evening ended with everyone talking about the strange taste of fish. When our dinner was over, the men went outside to smoke, and my boyfriend went to the second floor to change his clothes. I was left in the kitchen with my aunt and sister. I started washing the dishes, and Haley was standing next to me, finishing her coffee. I asked Haley, "What the hell did you just do?" Haley said that she just tasted a weird flavor from the fish, so she wanted to make sure she wasn't the only one who tasted it. I asked, was it so important to ask, right? When Ian started telling something interesting about himself, my aunt said that when she tasted the weird taste, and Ian paused for a bit, she felt it was the right time to ask. I objected and said, "We ate fish 20 minutes ago, and it's very suspicious that you decided to say something about a strange taste at the moment of my boyfriend's story." When my uncle was telling the story for the 10th time in a year, how he almost ran over a bull, you were silent. Finally, Haley admitted that she just wasn't interested in my boyfriend and didn't care about him or what he was interested in. I was in a complete tizzy when I heard this. Of course, I understood that she and her husband were not happy with Ian, but this was too much. Finally, before my relatives left, I said, "We will no longer support you and Ian until you and your husband start to value our family." My aunt said, "Dear, everything I wanted, I did for you. I'm not interested in you anymore, and even less in your boyfriend, who is always telling strange stories. Even my husband is more interesting when talking about his car." After these words, Haley turned around and went outside to her husband, with whom she went home. After that evening, I never spoke to Haley or Austin again, but I never dared to tell my boyfriend about this conversation. Was I a bad girl for not telling Ian what my family thought of him? After all, even my sister said she agreed with my aunt. "Gianna, why do you care so much what your aunt or uncle thinks about your boyfriend? I don't think you should care at all. The most important thing is that Ian is a cool and adequate man whom you love. Nothing else can be important. Maybe it's so important to you that Haley is interested in Ian's life because you think of her as your mother. But even that is not that important. After all, Haley's opinion can be either positive or negative. You won't adapt to Haley's opinion, otherwise you don't have an opinion. You have to accept reality as it is. Your family doesn't care what kind of person you live with or who you plan to be with. If they have already done everything for you, I think Haley thinks she's done everything she can for you, so she doesn't really care about your life. And you're reacting so rudely because you want the attention of Haley or your uncle, who are like your mom and dad. Santiago, it is customary in my family that everyone is interested in each other's lives. To me, it is completely abnormal when some family members do not care about others. The most important thing in life for a person is people, and therefore, family is an important aspect for everyone. If you don't know much about your family, you don't know much about yourself. I can't imagine knowing anything about my son's girlfriend, except that she is 21 years old and in college. That's not enough to build a good relationship. With such information, it is impossible to even build a dialogue, let alone any kind of relationship. People in a family need to know a lot of information about each other. If this is not the case, then it is not even a family, but just a bunch of people who have things in common. You are doing the right thing by trying to make your family more open. I wish you success and strength in this endeavor. Next story. I have been married to my husband Angel for 10 years. We met in a cafe when I was 23 years old. My boyfriend had 2 sons whom he adopted after the death of his brother. Angel took a long time to recover, and it was a difficult time for our family. 2 years after we met, I married Angel and have no regrets. Now we are raising 2 wonderful children who are 9 and 13 years old. 2 boys, Maverick and Nicholas. I have always enjoyed raising these children. There has never been a time when I or Angel regretted taking these children into care. I was the main caregiver for the children. Because Angel was often at work and I had a freer schedule, I had to help my sons with their homework and teach them the rules of behavior. I have been taking care of them for a very long time, and I never felt like I was raising someone else's children. Maverick and Nicholas are my children, and I feel that way. I had my sister Madeline and her husband Dominic. They are 2 years older than us and have children of their own. They have 2 daughters. The oldest is 6 years old, and the other is 4 years old. We get along quite well with them and meet once or twice a month. My parents could not accept our children with Angel as their own. All my relatives have never even emphasized the fact that the children are not actually mine but adopted, but not my mom and dad, and it always annoyed me terribly. I tried to explain to them many times that it was not so important who gave birth to these children, but for all people, the fact who raised these children should be more important. But my mom says that's not true, and a person who was not born by me cannot feel all the love from their mother. We almost never leave our children with Angel, with my parents, when we need to go somewhere. It's not that my parents don't love Maverick or Nicholas. My parents' attitude is no better towards them. For these reasons, we would rather leave the children with my husband's parents. That week, we were at my husband's parents' house. They decided to have a family reunion, which has been a tradition for 3 years. My parents and my sister and her family were invited. There were also some nephews from my husband's father. Our dinner was great, and when we almost left to clear the table, my mom pulled out 2 new sweatshirts with anime characters on them from her bag. My mom called her grandchildren, who were my sister's children. She handed them these sweatshirts and started kissing and hugging them. For the reader's editors, it was just a meeting, and the children did not have any holiday. All this happened when my 2 sons were around. Maverick sat and played on his phone, and Nicholas stood watching. I felt a little uncomfortable that my mom was doing this in public, and my children were standing on the sidelines. I saw Nicholas standing there looking at his grandmother with some expectation. My mom saw his look and gave him a candy and said, "You're so good," and she went to the kitchen. My son was very upset by what had happened. I decided to react calmly to this situation and resolve this issue alone with my mom, so as not to make a storm in front of the family. In the evening, after Angel and I had done all our chores and put the kids to bed, we called my parents. It was about 9 o'clock in the evening. My dad answered the phone, and I asked him to sit down with my mom and tell us about the prank at the party today. My dad was a little surprised when I said these words. When my mom picked up the phone, my husband was the first to ask, "Do you think this is normal?" My mom went into denial mode and played dumb, saying, "I don't understand what you mean." I added, "You have offended my sons very much today." My dad said, "Oh, you mean those 2 sweaters?" My wife and I decided to donate clothes for our 2 granddaughters because it's going to be cool in a few weeks. I asked, "What about the other grandchildren?" My mother replied that everything they wanted to give to their grandchildren, they had already given. My husband said, "So you don't think you could have bought any things for Maverick and Nicholas?" My mom said, "We only support our grandchildren." I said, "If you decided to give sweaters only for my sister's children, you could have done it when all the people were not watching." I have not been so disappointed in a long time. My husband said he no longer wants to deal with my parents because of what they did. Then I had to talk to my children and calm them down, saying that it was okay if they didn't get anything because they have me and their dad, and we can buy whatever they need. My children were still upset despite my words. I called my sister Madeline and asked her, couldn't she have stopped our mom from humiliating them in front of my children? Madeline said it was okay because our mom and dad made their own choices and it was very wrong to judge them for not giving someone a gift. I understood why Madeline was saying this, because her children had received gifts from their grandmother, unlike mine. Finally, I asked Madeline Do you treat my children the same way as our parents, or do you just hide it?" Madeline was silent and did not answer. Now everything fell into place, and much became clear to me. 2 days after all the events, I wrote a letter to my parents. I told them that we would not be seeing each other in the near future, and that I had no desire to know them, nor my sister, because they all believe that children who are only biological relatives are worthy of respect and love. My mother posted on Facebook that I was a stupid girl who was trying to make her look evil. But despite this, I kept my word and did not respond to her posts. Some people think I'm rude and evil. After all, my mother and sister worked hard to ruin my reputation. I don't regret anything, although there is a strange feeling. I think I could have done everything more calmly. Cora, I can't imagine my parents acting like assholes with children who were adopted. Your children Maverick and Nicholas, people who lost their dad when they were very young. They're the ones can't treat like that, especially your mom and dad, who are supposed to be good to them. I strongly agree with the statement. That cannot single out any of the children. Your parents probably don't know that when you start giving your children more attention, they take advantage of it. Now, because of their gift to your sister's children, Madeline's children may begin to see themselves as more worthy. I don't rule out that out of your parental eyes, Madeline's kids might start making fun of Maverick and Nicholas. I hope your sister's girls are raised to be good people. They will not make fun of your sons, but most likely it will be impossible to avoid if your family has such an attitude towards your children. Ruby, your parents did this on purpose. I think your mother decided to show you that your children are not important to her and her husband. It's as if your mother doesn't live in the modern world and doesn't know that children can be considered family, not only if you gave birth to them. Children who are adopted also have the right to be considered family members, regardless of their age or gender. Although your mom and dad acted like assholes, I don't want to say anything about your sister Madeline, because she is the epitome of hypocritical. The only thing that makes me happy is how much you love these kids and are willing to support them, regardless of what your family thinks. You have gone against the opinion of all your family and are fighting for Maverick and Nicholas. I have a lot of respect for people like you. It's not your children's fault that they lost their own family and now have to be under the care of your husband. A story that really surprised me. My friend and I went to a local cafe during lunch at work. We often sit there with Jackson because the lighting is very good and the windows overlook a local park which has a great view. Sometimes you feel like it's not a lunch break, but a place where you can relax. Anyway, Jackson and I sat there and waited for our lunches to be brought to us. This time I was feeling really hungry, probably because I had a good workout at the gym yesterday. Jackson and I were sitting there discussing our new project that we were going to show our boss next week. Since it's located next to a park and has a nice interior, people come in often and it's a very popular cafe in the neighborhood. While we were waiting for our food, I saw a woman with a small camera and 3 teenagers who were dressed in style enter the cafe. These people did not bother Jackson and me. We were sitting in front of a wall that had a small closet with open shelves behind it, small photos of our state stars, and a lot of different lanterns. I can say that this is one of the most beautiful parts of this cafe. People take photos there probably more than 100 times a day. I don't really like taking photos of myself, so I just look at nature. The people who came in 20 minutes ago started filming a video. I understood that those teenagers were filming a video review of the place, and everything would have been fine if the woman who was filming those kids hadn't come up to me and Jackson and said that we were really disturbing them with our chatter, so we needed to move to another place so she could record quality sound. Jackson said, "Girl, if you don't like something, you can choose another place or find another angle to shoot from, and don't bother me with my lunch." The woman looked very scary in the sense that she was ready to beat me and my friend, but she started saying that if we didn't get our stupid faces out of this place right now, she would have to call the manager of the cafe. I said, "We will not go to another place or to another table because we came here first and we have the right to sit wherever we want because we paid over $200 for lunch. So my friend and I are going to sit here and you can't do anything to us." The woman stopped talking and walked away. 2 minutes later, she came back with a waiter and said, "These men have agreed to be moved, so you need to help them with that." I said, "Wait, we're not moving from this place. What are you thinking?" Then she started saying that she was here from a famous YouTube channel and had to shoot beautiful material for her client. And we were acting like stupid sheep who couldn't move for 5 minutes until she had shot a couple of takes with the kids. Even though she explained the purpose of her actions, my friend Jackson and I would not agree to sit anywhere else. During this conflict, all the people who were there periodically looked at the development of events. Later, the teenagers who were with that stupid woman joined our conversation. They also started telling us to leave quickly and let them know about some videos. We stood our ground and did not go anywhere. The waiter who was there was calling his boss. He came to us and found out the details of the conflict. He told those people to stop making a fuss and get out with their camera. Otherwise, he would call the police. The woman began to make excuses and say that they would shoot a few videos against the wall and leave. But the manager was very serious and told them to get out and not to disturb the visitors. I thanked the man for his position. After that, they brought us free desserts from Jackson to make it up to us that this happened in their cafe. When I told this story to my wife, she said that Jackson and I acted like rude people. After all, it didn't cost us anything to move to another table for a few minutes so that those people could make a video. She was offended and said, "I didn't think you were that rude." After my wife's words, I thought about it and came to the conclusion that Jackson and I shouldn't have been so rude. Eva, your wife is absolutely right. You and your friend are just very proud and decided to show your importance. In reality, you are two roosters who did not want to understand other people. The cafe is not your personal home, and you cannot tell someone that you will not share the space. It would have been nice to make a few videos for those people, but you and Jackson decided to show how cool you are and started to refuse that woman. This makes me think you are rude and uncultured men. You weren't molested by some inadequate or drunk people. You were asked by a girl to make room for a few minutes, but apparently your personal comfort is more important than all people. You are lucky that the director of the institution shares your selfish thoughts. Grayson, don't even listen to anyone. Your friend did the right thing when he told that director to leave you alone for lunch. This is a restaurant, not a professional video recording studio, so just because she has a problem with it doesn't mean that the people around her should. It's like if you're in a supermarket and some guy comes up to you and says, "Hey man, you took my bottle that I put aside for myself, but there will be thousands of such bottles on this shelf." You'll ask him, "Why this particular bottle?" And he'll say, "It's none of your business. It's just mine in this store because I decided to have it." You will agree that this is absurd. This woman did the same thing. I'm sure there are other good places in your city where can rent something without disturbing other people. My next story. I am 27 years old now. 3 years ago, I met a charming girl named Valentina. We quickly started to communicate closely, and after 6 months we started dating. My whole family was excited about Valentina, and even my sister Isla said she liked my girlfriend. My sister is a surprisingly picky girl. After the new year, I plan to marry Valentina. In the middle of spring, my uncle, who was still alive at the time, gave me a beautiful necklace for my bride. He said it was the most valuable thing in the world to him, and he was happy to pass this necklace on so that someone else would be happier. 2 months after that, my uncle's life ended due to a stroke. This event upset the whole family because our uncle was a very cool person. He could talk to all people easily and had no enemies. It took me 3 months to finally get over my uncle's death. For me, he was a special person with whom I enjoyed spending my time. But the worst was yet to come. One day, I was returning home, where my girlfriend's mother was waiting for me. She told me that her daughter had been severely injured because she had been hit by a large car and died before the ambulance arrived. It is difficult for me to describe what I felt for the next months of my life. I felt like I was in another world where only bad things happened to me and there was no way out. My girlfriend died 2 months before our wedding. It was a strong blow to my consciousness. All my family tried to comfort me, but it was very hard and painful. I spent the next 6 months in severe depression. It turned out that Valentina's death was an accident and the driver was not going to be jailed, no matter how hard I fought for it. It took me about 9 months to recover from all the events in my life. All I have left as a memory of Valentina is a necklace and a few photos of us together. From time to time, I would sit on my bed and just look at our old photos with Valentina for an hour and hold the necklace in my hands. When I started to feel a little better, my sister wrote to me saying that she would be coming to see me soon. For the last 2 months, I hadn't spoken to anyone from my family because they started to annoy me. When she arrived, Isla started asking about my condition and how I was feeling. In fact, she was not very interested in this because she came for one thing. Isla asked if I still had the necklace my uncle gave me. I told her that it was in my bedside drawer. Isla asked if she could have it for herself. I told her that I was not going to give her my thing. Isla said that it was not actually mine, and I should share the necklace with her. My sister realized that I was firm in my decision and left me alone. I asked her to leave my house and not to come with such intentions again. Isla was very angry with me and on the way out, Isla saying, "You can't keep that necklace just for yourself." The next day I received several calls from my mom. She was completely on my sister's side. She said that I would not use the necklace anywhere else and that my sister needed it more than I did. My mom even made my dad say the same thing. I refused the whole family and said, "My uncle gave me this necklace to give to my future wife. Now I have neither a wife nor an uncle. All I have is this necklace, which gives me good memories, so I am not going to give it to anyone." My sister said that I was acting like a little child who doesn't want to share. My mom says it's been a long time, and I can part with that necklace. My close relatives believe that I am doing something bad by refusing to give my sister the necklace. Although in my opinion, she had no right to ask me for it. But my opinion doesn't mean anything to my family, who think I'm a selfish person, who only thinks about my own feelings. They make me feel very bad. "Cooper, your sister is a weirdo. Why does she want this particular necklace? Is it so beautiful or special that Isla doesn't even care that it belongs to a dead person? I would never have thought of such a stupid idea. How can even ask your own brother for his things, especially if they are very precious to him? Your sister Isla didn't even say why she needed the necklace. Maybe she doesn't have the money and wants to sell it. You should find out what her motives are, because it is not a healthy desire to want to get an item that belongs to a person who has long since died. Even if Isla did get that necklace, did she feel good about wearing it knowing it was meant for your dead girlfriend? It's very strange for me to think about this situation, let alone be in it. You should have kicked your sister out of the house for thinking such stupid things. Eliana, I love jewelry, but I wouldn't wear it. I can't understand what's going on with your sister. She has seen your terrible condition for 9 months, and then suddenly she comes to your house. She sees that you haven't recovered from the loss, and now she asks you to give her your late girlfriend's necklace. Isla hasn't even begun to tell you why she wants the necklace. She acted very insensitively and ugly. Isla should have sympathized with you and left, because it is clear that you are not in a normal state yet. But Isla thought that now was the best time to start demanding the jewelry from you. It's also very strange to me that your mother wanted to support Isla's words. It seems like they're in cahoots and they're trying to get you killed. Your family is very toxic and rude. You should not build any kind of relationship with them. Those people don't deserve to be your family. If a person is desperate, her shouldn't push them to a dead end. Your sister Isla doesn't care about your feelings. I think the author's uncle would have been against the fact that his gift was passed around the family instead of to one owner. A very absurd opinion from the author's sister. If your sister respects you, she would not argue and just accept the rejection.